Millionaire mocks mechanic, but she does something unbelievable that leaves everyone shocked. Tyler Morrison was laughing loudly in his shop. "I'll give you half my company if you can fix this Lamborghini." The bet Tyler made was so absurd that 30 employees gathered to watch what they believed would be the most epic humiliation in the shop's history. But this woman was hiding a secret that would turn his arrogant world completely upside down. Tyler Morrison leaned back in his leather executive chair, watching through the floor-to-ceiling windows as his mechanics worked on the most expensive cars in downtown Chicago. At 38 years old, he had built Morrison's elite auto from a small garage into the most prestigious luxury car service center in the Midwest. His clientele included celebrities, politicians, and millionaires who trusted only his shop with their Bentleys, Maseratis, and custom Porsches worth more than most people's houses. But Tyler's success had made him arrogant and cruel, especially toward anyone he considered beneath his status. He took particular pleasure in humiliating women who dared enter what he called his domain. His shop was his kingdom, with imported Italian marble floors, state-of-the-art German diagnostic equipment, and a reputation that fed his massive ego daily. Every rejection he delivered to unworthy applicants reminded him of his power and superiority. "Mr. Morrison," his receptionist's nervous voice crackled through the intercom, interrupting his thoughts. "There's a woman here about the mechanic position we advertised." Tyler's lips curled into a sinister smile as he processed this information. A woman wanting to work on million-dollar supercars in his shop was the perfect opportunity for entertainment. "Send her up immediately," Tyler commanded, already planning the humiliation he would deliver. This should be absolutely hilarious. He straightened his $5,000 suit and prepared to crush another dreamer's hopes. The anticipation of destroying someone's confidence always gave him a twisted sense of satisfaction. Sophia Chen entered the office carrying a carefully prepared resume, her hands slightly trembling with nervous energy. At 26 years old, she had spent 7 years working in smaller auto shops across California, dreaming of the day she could prove her skills in a prestigious establishment like Morrison's Elite Auto. She had arrived 3 hours early, practiced her presentation dozens of times, and researched every detail about Tyler's business to make the perfect impression. "Good afternoon, Mr. Morrison," Sophia said respectfully, extending her resume with both hands. "I'm Sophia Chen, and I'm here about the mechanic position you have available." Tyler didn't even glance at the paper she offered. Instead, he studied her from head to toe with predatory eyes, like a hunter sizing up wounded prey. "You want to work on supercars?" Tyler asked slowly, his voice dripping with contempt and disbelief. "You actually think you belong in my shop working on vehicles worth more than your entire neighborhood?" Sophia felt heat rising to her cheeks but maintained her professional composure, despite his obvious attempt to intimidate her. "Yes, sir. I have 7 years of experience and extensive training in European automotive systems," Sophia replied confidently, hoping her qualifications would speak louder than his prejudices. Tyler erupted in cruel laughter that echoed throughout the glass-walled office, attracting the attention of mechanics working below. 7 years changing oil filters in backyard garages, Tyler mocked ruthlessly, standing up to circle around her like a shark. "That's what you call experience worthy of my establishment." The humiliation burned deep, but Sophia refused to let this arrogant man break her spirit or crush her dreams. At that moment, 3 senior mechanics entered the office after hearing Tyler's loud laughter. Marcus, Derek, and Jason were his most experienced technicians, and they immediately sensed an opportunity for entertainment at Sophia's expense. Their boss's cruel games always provided twisted amusement during their otherwise routine workdays. "What do we have here, boss?" Marcus asked with a malicious grin spreading across his face. "A new coffee girl?" Tyler clapped his hands together sarcastically, savoring every moment of what he planned to be epic humiliation. "Even better, gentlemen. This young lady believes she can work on million-dollar supercars in our facility." The 3 mechanics burst into uncontrolled laughter, wiping tears from their eyes as they processed Tyler's announcement. Derek shook his head in disbelief while pointing at Sophia mockingly. "Seriously? A woman thinks she can handle real automotive work?" Jason chimed in cruelly. "Maybe she confused our shop with a nail salon down the street." Sophia clenched her fists tightly, feeling humiliation burn through her veins like acid. For years she had faced similar comments and discrimination, but something about these men's systematic cruelty cut deeper than usual. She had worked twice as hard as male colleagues, studied longer hours, and proven herself repeatedly, only to face the same ignorant assumptions everywhere she went. "Gentlemen," Tyler announced with theatrical drama, his voice carrying the tone of a ringmaster introducing a circus act. "I think we should be polite to our visitor and give her a chance to demonstrate her alleged expertise." The mechanics exchanged knowing glances, recognizing their boss's signature setup for particularly cruel public humiliation. Tyler pointed toward the shop floor where a pristine white Lamborghini Huracan sat motionless in the center bay. "That Lamborghini has been here for 10 days with engine problems that have stumped our best technicians. Our simple mechanics haven't been able to identify the issue despite their years of experience with exotic supercars. If you can diagnose and repair that engine," Tyler continued with a wicked smile, "I'll give you the job, but not just any job." He paused dramatically, ensuring everyone was paying attention to his grand announcement. "I'll make you my business partner and give you half ownership of Morrison's elite auto." The silence that followed was deafening as the mechanics stared at their boss in complete shock. Derek stepped closer to Tyler, clearly concerned about the magnitude of this insane wager. "Boss, are you absolutely certain about this bet? That Lamborghini is incredibly complex, and if by some miracle she actually succeeds..." Tyler cut him off with an angry wave. "When she fails miserably, as I know she will," Tyler declared confidently, "she signs a legal document promising never to apply at any serious automotive shop in Chicago again. She'll admit publicly that women don't belong in professional automotive repair and abandon her ridiculous career dreams forever." Sophia looked around at the 4 men surrounding her, seeing nothing but contempt and predetermined judgment in their eyes. They had decided she was incompetent before learning anything about her background, skills, or training. For 26 years, she had endured comments about how automotive work was too physical for women, how customers preferred male mechanics, and how she should find more appropriate feminine employment. "What do I gain if I accept this challenge and fail?" Sophia asked calmly, surprising everyone with her composed response. Tyler laughed cruelly, not expecting her to maintain such dignity under pressure. "You gain nothing except public humiliation and the end of your pathetic career aspirations. But if you insist on embarrassing yourself, that's your choice." Something snapped inside Sophia at that moment. It wasn't just the unfairness of the situation, but years of accumulated frustration with men who judged her capabilities based on gender stereotypes. She had watched incompetent male mechanics get promoted while she was passed over, heard countless clients request male technicians instead of her, and faced rejection after rejection from shops that wouldn't even give her a chance. "I accept your challenge," Sophia declared with unwavering determination, her voice carrying a strength that surprised even herself. Tyler blinked in confusion, not expecting such a confident response from someone he intended to crush. "Completely and totally accept, but I want our agreement documented in writing with all shop employees as witnesses." "Perfect," Tyler replied gleefully, already imagining the entertainment value of this spectacular failure. "This will be even more enjoyable than I originally anticipated." He called every employee in the shop to witness what he believed would be the most epic humiliation in Morrison's elite auto history, completely unaware that his arrogance was about to receive the most devastating lesson of his entire career. While Tyler gathered his audience for the spectacle, Sophia walked silently toward the Lamborghini that awaited her in the center of the shop floor. She had no idea that in the next 40 minutes her life would change forever, and Tyler Morrison's world of certainty and superiority was about to crumble into dust around his feet. Tyler's shop transformed into a modern gladiatorial arena within 15 minutes of his announcement. Word spread quickly among the 30 employees about the most ridiculous bet in company history. A completely unknown woman challenging the most complex automotive problem they had encountered in months, with Tyler's entire business hanging in the balance of her inevitable failure. Tyler had arranged folding chairs in a semicircle around the Lamborghini, turning the diagnostic challenge into a public entertainment event. He positioned himself at the center of the audience, arms crossed confidently, wearing a smile that revealed his absolute certainty about the outcome. His 3 senior mechanics whispered among themselves, making private bets about how quickly Sophia would admit defeat and beg for mercy. "Ladies and gentlemen," Tyler announced in his best showman voice, "welcome to the automotive event of the decade. In this corner we have Sophia Chen, who claims 7 years of experience in neighborhood auto shops." Cruel laughter rippled through the crowd as employees pulled out smartphones to record what they assumed would be viral content for social media. "And in this corner," Tyler continued with theatrical flair, We have a precision Italian engineering masterpiece that has defeated my 3 most experienced technicians for 10 consecutive days. An engine worth more than most people earn in 5 years. Now facing someone whose greatest accomplishment is probably changing spark plugs in economy cars. Sophia approached the Lamborghini slowly, ignoring the circus atmosphere Tyler had created around her challenge. Her eyes focused intensely on the vehicle, studying details that others might overlook. The positioning, tool marks around certain components, and subtle indicators that revealed the diagnostic approaches already attempted by the previous mechanics working on this engine. She walked methodically around the entire vehicle, her hands not yet touching anything but her trained eyes absorbing crucial information. The arrangement of tools nearby, the specific components that had been removed and reinstalled, and the electronic diagnostic equipment still connected to various engine systems. Every detail told part of the story about what had already been tried and why it had failed. "Look at that," Marcus mocked loudly, pointing at Sophia's careful inspection. "She's walking around like a lost tourist, doesn't even know how to pop the hood on a real supercar." Derek joined in the ridicule. "Maybe she's looking for the instruction manual or waiting for a man to show her where the engine is located." But Frank Rodriguez, the shop's oldest mechanic with 40 years of experience, moved closer to observe Sophia's methodology. Something about her systematic approach reminded him of techniques he'd seen used by specialists from European automotive training programs. Her movements were too deliberate and purposeful for someone who was simply clueless about high-performance engines. "What exactly are you looking for?" Frank asked respectfully, his tone noticeably different from the mockery of his younger colleagues. Sophia glanced at him, recognizing the voice of genuine professional curiosity rather than cruel entertainment seeking. "I'm studying the diagnostic history before I begin my own evaluation," she replied calmly. The response surprised Frank and several other mechanics who overheard it. That was exactly the approach taught in advanced European automotive programs, not something typically learned in basic neighborhood shops. "What kind of diagnostic history are you reading?" Frank pressed further, genuinely intrigued by her professional methodology. "The tool marks on specific components tell me which systems you've already tested," Sophia explained without condescension, treating Frank as a fellow professional. "The arrangement of diagnostic equipment shows me the electronic protocols you've attempted. The wear patterns on certain engine parts reveal how long this problem has been developing and what type of stress caused it." Tyler's confident smile began to waver slightly as he overheard this technical conversation. The terminology Sophia was using was far more sophisticated than he had expected from someone with her supposed background. These weren't the words of an amateur mechanic, but rather someone with genuine training in advanced automotive diagnostics. "Stop stalling and start working," Tyler commanded impatiently, his voice betraying a hint of nervousness he couldn't quite suppress. "You have 45 minutes to prove you belong in my shop, or you sign the document and disappear forever." Sophia nodded calmly and finally approached the engine compartment, her hands moving with surprising confidence toward the hood release mechanism. When the hood opened, revealing the complex heart of Italian engineering excellence, Sophia smiled for the first time since entering Tyler's shop. It wasn't a nervous or hopeful expression, but rather the satisfied recognition of someone who had just encountered a familiar challenge. That smile sent an unexpected chill down Tyler's spine, though he couldn't explain why. The Lamborghini's engine bay was a masterpiece of modern automotive art, with components precisely arranged and engineered to deliver incredible performance. But to Sophia's trained eye, something was immediately obvious that the previous mechanics had completely missed. The problem wasn't hidden or mysterious. It was right there, waiting for someone with the right knowledge to identify it. "Interesting," Sophia murmured to herself, leaning closer to examine specific components. "Very interesting indeed." Her confidence seemed to grow with each passing moment, while Tyler's arrogance began to crack like ice under pressure. For the first time since making his ridiculous bet, he wondered if he might have made a catastrophic mistake. Frank moved closer to watch Sophia work, his experienced eye recognizing techniques and approaches that were definitely not learned in basic automotive programs. "Where exactly did you train?" he asked quietly, genuine curiosity replacing any trace of mockery. "Because those diagnostic methods aren't taught in standard mechanic schools." "Various places," Sophia replied vaguely, her attention focused on the engine components, some more specialized than others. She began disconnecting specific sensors and components with movements that were too precise and confident, for someone unfamiliar with exotic supercars. Every action followed a deliberate sequence that suggested extensive experience with high-performance European engines. Tyler stepped closer to the Lamborghini, abandoning his spectator position as genuine concern began to replace his earlier confidence. Something about Sophia's systematic approach and professional terminology was triggering alarm bells in his business owner instincts. "What kind of specialized training are you talking about?" he demanded, his voice sharp with growing anxiety. "The kind where precision matters more than assumptions," Sophia answered without looking up from her work. "The kind where mistakes cost championships instead of just money." The implications of that statement hit several mechanics like lightning bolts, suggesting experience in professional racing environments where stakes were astronomical compared to regular automotive repair. Derek moved closer to Tyler, whispering urgently in his boss's ear. "Maybe we should call this off before it goes too far. Something about her technique seems way too advanced for someone from neighborhood shops." But Tyler's pride wouldn't allow him to back down from his public challenge, even as doubt began eating away at his confidence. "Keep working," Tyler announced loudly, trying to maintain control of the situation. "You still have 30 minutes to prove you can do what my best mechanics couldn't accomplish." But privately, he was beginning to realize that his certainty about the outcome might have been dangerously premature, and the consequences of being wrong were too terrible to contemplate. Sophia continued her systematic diagnostic process, her movements becoming more confident and purposeful with each passing minute. She was identifying problems and implementing solutions with a level of expertise that clearly surpassed anything Tyler's mechanics had demonstrated during their 10 days of failed attempts. The crowd's mocking laughter had faded into nervous silence as they watched her work with undeniable professional competence. "Where did you say you worked before?" Frank asked again, his respect for Sophia's abilities growing with every technique she demonstrated. "Because what you're doing right now requires training from European performance centers or professional racing programs." Sophia paused in her work, seeming to weigh how much truth she was willing to reveal. "I've worked with high-performance engines before," she admitted carefully, "in environments where failure wasn't an option, and precision was literally a matter of life and death." The gravity of that statement sent chills through everyone within hearing distance, suggesting experience in professional motorsports where mechanical failures could result in catastrophic crashes at extreme speeds. Tyler felt his stomach dropping as the implications became clear. Professional racing mechanics were the absolute elite of the automotive world, trained to work on million-dollar race cars where every component was pushed to the absolute limits of performance and reliability. If Sophia had that kind of background, his entire worldview was about to be shattered in the most humiliating way possible. The next 15 minutes would determine whether Tyler Morrison remained the arrogant king of Chicago's luxury automotive scene, or became the laughingstock who lost his entire business to a woman he had tried to humiliate. And based on what everyone was witnessing, the outcome was looking very different from what anyone had expected when this challenge began. Sophia's hands moved with surgical precision as she made the final adjustments to the Lamborghini's engine management system. The crowd had fallen into complete silence, watching her work with a level of expertise that defied every assumption they had made about her background and qualifications. Tyler stood frozen in terror, realizing that his arrogant bet was about to cost him everything he had built over the past 15 years. "The problem," Sophia announced calmly, wiping her hands on a shop towel, "was in the electronic fuel injection mapping. This engine was modified for track performance, but your diagnostics use standard streetcar protocols. It's like trying to tune a Formula One car using techniques for a family sedan." Her explanation revealed knowledge that could only come from the highest levels of professional motorsports. Frank shook his head in amazement, finally understanding why their diagnostic attempts had failed so completely. "You're saying we were using the wrong approach entirely?" Sophia nodded, walking to the driver's seat with the confidence of someone who had driven high-performance vehicles countless times before in professional settings. "Exactly. When you modify an engine for racing performance, everything changes. The fuel mixture, timing, boost pressure, even the cooling system requirements are completely different from factory specifications." She turned the ignition key, and the Lamborghini roared to life with a sound that was deeper, smoother, and more powerful than anyone had heard before in Tyler's shop. The engine purred with perfect precision, no hesitation, no rough idle, no performance issues whatsoever. Sophia revved it gently and the sound was absolutely magnificent. Like a finely tuned orchestra playing automotive symphony, Tyler's face went completely white as he realized the full magnitude of his catastrophic mistake and the irreversible consequences of his arrogant wager. Tyler Morrison learned the hardest lesson of his life that day in front of 30 witnesses. His arrogance and prejudice had cost him half ownership of the business he had built, but more importantly, it taught him that talent and expertise have nothing to do with gender, background, or appearances. Sophia Chen became the first female partner at Morrison's Elite Auto, revolutionizing their diagnostic capabilities and bringing clients from professional racing teams across the country. Sometimes the most powerful lessons come from the people we least expect, and the biggest mistakes happen when we judge others based on our own limited perspectives, rather than giving them a chance to prove their true abilities. Tyler's story spread throughout Chicago's automotive community as a reminder that respect must be earned through competence, not demanded through intimidation. If this story of justice and redemption resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear about standing up for yourself when others try to tear you down. Subscribe for more incredible true stories about people who prove their doubters wrong in the most spectacular ways possible. Sometimes the underdog has skills that nobody saw coming, and that's when the most amazing transformations happen.